Coming up, 10 tips that are going to help you ride faster for longer without any extra effort so that you don't get dropped from your group on a ride. Oh, and also the most overlooked one comes at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around. First up, make sure you know how to ride on the wheel. Most of what prevents you going faster on a bike on a flat road is air resistance. But if you ride behind someone else, they'll be moving that air out of the way for you so you don't have to. Riding behind just one rider will save you about 30% in terms of the power you need to produce for the same speed. The closer you are to that rider, the more advantage you will gain. It's a skill that takes some practice, but it is well worth the effort to learn. Now, since air resistance is the biggest factor when it comes to how much power you need to go a certain speed, it makes a lot of sense to do less turns and less time on the front of your group. That means more time in the wheel drafting out of the wind, where you'll be saving energy that you'll then be able to use later on when the going gets really tough. On a similar note, the timing of your turn on the front can make a difference as well. If you know where the climbs are, try not to do your turn just before it. You'll be riding at a higher power and you may pay for that once you hit the climb itself. However, if it is a large group, it is advisable to start the climb near the front. That way you can drift back a little on the climb without losing contact with the group. How do you know where the climbs are if you aren't familiar with the area? Well, plug the route into your head unit before you start. Now, I've done that on my Wahoo, and so I can see where the climb starts, roughly how long it is, and most importantly, when I'm near the top. That way I can judge my effort, knowing that I can afford to go into the red as I approach the top of the climb, where it will then flatten out or start descending. Fueling is a massive thing in cycling right now for pros and amateurs alike. Teaching your body to use carbohydrates is a surefire way to be able to ride far longer without fading. It does take some time, it does take some practice, but with the correct nutrition, you'll find yourself feeling much more powerful later in the ride. Gear selection should be another consideration if you're expecting any accelerations in a group, particularly on a climb. So if you're grinding a big gear, it is very difficult to respond to an upping of the speed. So try to keep your cadence a little higher, around 90 RPM, you'll then be able to respond much quicker. Here's an expert tip for those of you who are very confident bike handlers, which is particularly useful when you're doing longer road races or even criteriums. What you do is as you approach a corner, you stop pedaling a little bit before those in front of you and open up a gap where you can take a brief bit of respite and save some energy. In the knowledge that with your expert cornering, you're going to be able to catch back up through the corner. Doesn't sound like much, but over the course of a long race, it really can add up. If you're still struggling to keep up, try this simple tip. Just ask the group to slow down a bit. Most cyclists will be fairly accommodating to riders that are just getting into the sport, and if they're not, maybe you just need to choose a different group to ride with. Next up, get more aero. For those of you new to the sport of cycling, getting more aero means getting into a position where you're pushing less air out of the way in order to move yourself forward on the bike. You can improve aerodynamics through your equipment and clothing, but the simplest and cheapest and most effective way to get more aero is to change the position you adopt on your bike. Riding with your elbows at 90 degrees and your back fairly flat will drastically reduce how much power you need to maintain to do the same speed, or allow you to go faster for the same power. Give it a go when you're next out riding. Now, despite all the tips we've just given you, the thing that will make the biggest difference as to whether you can stay with your group or not is your own power and fitness. If you do some focused, specific training, you'll see some big improvements within weeks. We have a heap of videos on the channel to get you started, and we'll put a link to some of them in the description down below. The final, very important tip that most riders don't know. Finding the drafting sweet spot when the wind is coming from the side will save you a huge amount of energy. So if the wind is in front or behind, or there's no wind at all, sitting on the wheel as we showed you earlier is the most efficient place to be. However, if this wind is blowing from the side, that changes. So right now, the wind is coming from my right-hand side. In order to get the most advantage from Giorgio in front of me here, I need to sit slightly to his left with my front wheel overlapping his back wheel. There, I'm going to save a lot more power and energy. Over the course of a group ride, this saving will really add up and can make the difference between being dropped or not. Well, I hope that you find at least some of those tips helpful next time you're out on a group ride. Let us know how you get on. Also, if you're a bit more experienced on the bike and you've got some tips of your own that you'd like to leave in the comments section for others, please feel free. One last thing, if you're yet to subscribe to the Global Cycling Network, make sure you do so by clicking on the icon down below, because we are going to have plenty of videos to help you become a better cyclist.